Hi, my loves. Welcome back to the Starscartel channel. If you don't know, I am Star. The message I heard is even with a rough foundation, you can get perfect results. The scripture comes from Wisdom 15:7. For truly the potter, laboriously working the soft earth, molds for our service each several article, both the vessels that serve for clean purposes and the opposites all alike. As to what shall be the use of each vessel of either class, the worker in clay is the judge, and with misspent toil he molds a meaningless God from the self same clay, though he himself shortly before was made from the earth, and after a little is to go whence he was taken, when the life that was lent him is demanded back. But his concern is not that he is to die, nor that his span of life is brief. Rather, he vies with goldsmiths and silversmiths, and emulates molders of bronze, and takes pride in molding counterfeits. So here's the message. Some of you have had to endure some hardships in your life. You have had for somebody, you had a hard upbringing. For somebody, you had some bad relationships. You had to endure some counterfeits. You had to endure some bad friendships. You had to endure a lot of hardships in your life. However, God says even when you have a rough foundation, you can get perfect results. And when I'm thinking about foundation, as somebody, you already know that your girl is experienced, okay? And your girl as somebody that has experienced not only the framing of creating a foundation, but also, laying out the cement and getting it even and all of that. And, the thing about a foundation is if the foundation is uneven, okay, I always I always experienced seeing a lot of tools that my father had going on, but I'm gonna be real and say that I didn't know exactly what everything was for. And a level, okay, I never understood how important something being level is until I just got a notification too. Until I knew what it was like for, if the house is unlevel, then, if you drop a glass of water, instead of the water just staying where it is and you mop it up and you done, the water is going to roll down towards whichever area is like if it's like this, it's going to start rolling that way. If it's that way, it's going to start, but if it's even, it's going to stay there. Anywho, a house being unlevel can bother you in other ways. If you got if you're trying to lay down and your head is laying towards the area where the house is going like this, then you gonna feel like it don't matter how many pillows you put under your neck, you gonna feel a little dizzy. You may feel a little frustrated, baby. It's reasons as to why a house being level is important. It's reason as to why the foundation being level is important. It's a reason as to why the framing for the door, if it's not level, it is going to be a headache, because guess what? The door ain't gonna fit. If it ain't square, it ain't gonna fit. If it ain't level, it ain't gonna fit. But here's what God said. God says, someone, you have experienced unleveling in your life. You have experienced hardship in your life. You have experienced a life filled with stress and you problem after problem, breakup after breakup. But God said, just because your foundation is a little unlevel, just because the foundation is a little rocky, don't mean that it ain't gonna work. It don't mean that it ain't gonna work. It don't mean that it ain't gonna work. Just like I just gave the examples of why you want the foundation to be smooth and level. However, it don't mean that just because the foundation is unlevel, all of a sudden you can't build the house. The house can still be built. And a house is still will function as a house. You may have a headache of, if it's like this, you're going to have the headache of the water going a little fast, but that means that you got to be quicker. You got to be quicker than that. That means you got to hurry up and get the broom. You got to hurry up and get the mop. And you got to hurry up and get it up because you already know it's unlevel. You already know it's a little shaky. And, As I say that. And I just feel like God is saying for somebody that these experiences that you have undergone in your life, the situations and the hardships that you had to endure in your life, they are to help you in your future. Just like what I just said, like I this helps me being me experiencing what it's like to frame a foundation, me experiencing what it's like to pour cement into, like, even though these things, you know, to normal, like somebody else, they may say, why would you could have just hired somebody to do that, and that was a waste of time, and why would you want? But if I ever needed to, I know how. And I just feel like God is saying for somebody, you may have experienced a lot of problems in your life, but guess what? If somebody tries to come to you and they are a mirror example of somebody else that you experienced, you already know that spirit. You already know that that is a Jezebel spirit and you don't want to be around them. You know that's an Ahab spirit. You don't want no parts of them. You know that they have a Pharaoh spirit on them and you need to watch out for them. You already know these things. And it is very important. I know me personally, I would rather go through life knowing these things and having experiences so that if something happens and I'm put in a position to where either I have to do certain things, I know how to do it, or if I'm put in a position to where somebody is coming up on me and they trying to run game, they trying to play with me, I already know what they got going on. I already peep it. And I'm being reminded of how when Jesus was casting out the spirits and people were watching him cast out the spirits, he said, who are you? And you know, and Solomon too. Solomon, when he was casting out spirits, when he was rebuking demons, he knew them. I think it was a video on here, not sure the name of the channel, but they were actually going over, I think it's Solomon's journal or something that he created where he was writing down the different demons that he had cast out and how he had to cast them out and how he knew them and the things that they would do to people. And, you know, it's just, the characteristics. And these are things that someone that never experienced anything, they wouldn't know this. Somebody that, you know, they grew up and their foundation is straight and narrow. They had the perfect childhood. They had the perfect adulthood. They had the most wonderful and beautiful life that they possibly could. They are not going to know how to fight the kind of demons that somebody that been through hell and back know how to fight. And that's just me being real. That's not putting down anybody that had a perfect life. That's not putting down anybody that had a fairy tale story. That's wonderful for them, okay? And wonderful for you if you're watching. But I'm just being real and saying that this person that had a perfect life and somebody that had a hard life will put in the same situation, the one with a hard life will have an easier time being able to figure out how to get around certain obstacles because they already did it before. It's not to say the one with the perfect life is not going to get around those obstacles. It's not to say the one with the perfect life would even end up in the same situation as this other person. But it is to say, God is saying the foundation that you have, it may be rocky, but you are perfectly made. The foundation that you have, it may not feel as wonderful as you would like it to. But God is saying that he allowed these things to happen to you so that when you got to where he is getting you to, you would get the results that you deserve. You, like somebody that don't know what it's like and has no experience of what it's like to mix cement would, like, it's not to say that they could not buy the tools and watch a video and figure it out, but it is to say that it's gonna take them a little bit longer. They may have to experience trying to get the cement to the right consistency and the sun then the cement then dried up, or they may have to experience, you know, they trying to do it in a climate when it's just not good. You know, if you try to mix cement and the sun is out, the sun is gonna dry it out. If you trying to pour cement And once again, the sun is out there. It's going to dry up before you can do everything. They're not going to know how to do certain things. They're not going to know that they need to keep it wet so that they can get it even. But because, someone that has experienced these things would know that. Somebody that hasn't experienced what it's like, even with gardening. Like I have told y'all, I've been gardening for years. I've been trying to get gardening together. For years, I've been putting forth effort to get a garden together. For years, I have been yearning to have a garden. And I finally got to a point to where I was able to flourish a garden. But that does not mean that it was easy for me. Now, that took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot, it was hard. And so people think that it's easy. All you got to do is throw the seeds in the ground and there it is. But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. This is not something that is just so simple to do. It's not something that is easy to do. I had to go through trial and error first before I could even get to taste any fruits or any herbs or anything that I was growing. And that's just me being real, me being honest. For a while, I had to just buy the plants. I couldn't grow them from seed. And, people were making me feel bad because I couldn't grow them from seed. But in reality, I was trying to get there, but I had to go through trial and error first. And finally, I was, getting books and reading the books and watching videos and learning with trial and error. And eventually I got something to sprout. Baby, I got something to grow. I could actually eat something that I grew from seed. And it's a wonderful feeling. However, it's hard. It's not something that's easy. You have to learn about plants and you have to learn about the climates that they like. Because some plants, if you try to grow them and it's not exactly the type of climate that they like, it's not exactly the time period that they will actually prefer to grow, then it just may simply not grow for you. And it's not to say that you're an awful person and you don't know what you're doing and you're just crazy. But if you're trying to force something like, I think Shard likes wintertime. And what else? It's another leafy green that likes the wintertime. If you try to grow those during the summertime, they will bolt on you. There are certain herbs that refuse to grow when it's too hot. Lavender don't like it when it's too hot. Lavender don't like too much sun. Me and I've been fighting trying to get it to grow for years. I've been fighting trying to get it to grow for years, and it's hard. It's hard to grow certain things. It's hard to get certain things to do what they gonna do. And, sometimes it's a matter of knowing your climate and what works for you. Sometimes, like I have said several times in several different videos, every plant is different. And it's something that you would never think that gardening would be hard because it seems simple, but it's not. And I'm just saying this to say for somebody, whatever it is that you are about to do, to somebody that has a stable ground, to somebody that had a clear foundation, it may not have been that hard for them. Or they may not have had to go through the things that you had to go through to achieve what you are about to achieve. But at the same time, they don't understand there are other obstacles that are in your way. There may be other, maybe y'all in two completely different climates. Somebody that is trying to grow food in a climate where it is very cold all year round are going to have different results as somebody that stays in a warm climate, and that's being real. Certain things are just simply not going to grow there, and certain things will just simply not grow in a warmer climate. They don't want to. They don't like it. They feel like it's too hot, and that's just being real. Certain plants don't want to be in a greenhouse. They want to be outside. Certain plants will prefer to be in the greenhouse. They don't want to go outside. Certain plants grow better in hydroponics. Certain plants refuse to grow in hydroponics. They don't care how much nutrients you put in there. They don't like it. They be like, no, pineapples. Okay, and I just feel like this message is for somebody. You are feeling down on yourself. You are feeling sad. You are wondering, why did I have to go through all this? Why did my life have to be this way? Why am I just always the matter of people attacking me? Why do I always have to endure people being mean to me? Why am I always having to endure someone trying to capture me? Why do I have to always stress out about people trying to kidnap me? Why is somebody somebody always trying to set a trap for me. God says that your foundation may be rocky, but it is built for a perfect ending. It is built for exactly a time as this. You are built for your story. For your story. Your story is not going to match everybody else's story. Your story not going to be like everybody else's story. And for some of y'all, like, you are breaking curses. You are actually knocking down boulders. You are having to go through a hazardous situation. God is pulling you out. And in reality, from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like God is pulling you out, but God had to allow certain things to happen so he could show you some things. Sometimes you are put in certain situations, and it's not because God doesn't love you. It's not because God doesn't want you to be saved. It is because God does not want you to allow yourself to get to, like, there are certain people that are not meant for the next season. And if you don't catch the things that you catch at the time that you're meant to catch it, you may very well end up pulling that person into a season they don't belong in. That's for somebody. There are certain activities that God does not want you to carry on with. There are certain friendships. There are certain jobs that God is like telling you that job is not meant for you. It don't mean it's a bad job. It don't mean that you're an evil person because you have that job. It doesn't mean that everything is going to fall apart because how dare you have that job. But it does mean that God has another job for you. It means that that job that you're operating in, it is keeping you from performing your destiny. I talked about this and how I was a makeup artist. I was a model. I wasn't this, like, what God has definitely taken over my YouTube channel at this point. And in reality, takeover, full-blown takeover. Okay. And it's kind of like, for some of you, you have felt as though you've been thrown into a hostile type takeover, or you felt as though there were things that you really wanted to do. There were places you really wanted to live there. You wanted to move there. Maybe there was someone you really wanted to marry them. Maybe there was someone you felt like they were a really good friend of yours and you didn't want to lose that friendship. But God says he had to, even though it was hostile, but he had to remove you from that friendship. He had to remove you from that job. He had to remove you from that relationship because it was not meant for you. And for some of you, you had to endure heartache in order for God to remove you. But if the heartache was important, because if the heartache did not happen, if you wouldn't have saw with your own eyes, if you wouldn't have heard with your own ears, if you wouldn't have found out, and this is not just by dreams, by visions. This is somebody you saw in the waking time. You saw in the waking time. You heard this is situation you stumbled upon it. You wasn't even trying to find out, but God said if you wouldn't have found out what you found out, there's a possibility that God would have separated you from this person, and it would have been not so much of a hostile situation, not so much of a heartbreaking situation, not so much of a painful situation, but the door would have been left open. The door would have been left open, and God would have got you to where you supposed to be, and the door's still open. You didn't know. God, he shows you visions. He sent you dreams. He spoke to you about this and gave you all the warnings. However, because you didn't see it with your own eyes or hear it with your own ear, you thought to yourself and said, maybe God was talking about somebody else. And you thought to yourself, and maybe they changed. You thought to yourself, and maybe it wasn't true. You allowed this person to talk you out of it, saying, oh, well, that was just a dream. You don't know what you're talking about. You allowed this person to say that they are hurt because how dare you say this and how dare you do that and this would never happen. You would allow this person to sweet talk you back into that job that you don't need. You would allow somebody to come in, and basically I just feel like for somebody, God is saying you would allow somebody to, you would allow them to kind of con you into going backwards, okay? But God says it's not meant for you to go backwards. It is not meant for you to go back to that place. It is not meant for you to be back in that relationship. That person is not meant to sit up and attach themselves to you and leech off of your blessings. That's not what's meant to happen. But if you would not have heard, and you would not have saw, and you would not have knew, for some of you, you experienced, okay? And this person, they were trying to hide things from you. They were trying to hide their true ways and their true nature from you. But God, just how God did Saul, and God put that spirit upon Saul so that his true nature would be shown. God put a spirit upon them so their true nature would be shown. And it hurt. It hurt. It hurt. But God says you needed that hurt because he wanted you to learn the lesson. For some of you, it could even be a situation where you know yourself and you know this person. And, sometimes we end up in situations where God tells us about this person, these people, or the job or whatever it is. And you won't listen. And you don't listen because you also have the person. You have God telling you their true nature and their true intentions. And then you have the person on the other side telling you that that's not true. And that their true intentions are this. They would never do anything like that. Some of these people, they have other people coming to you telling you wrong for feeling that way. You wrong for treating them that way. How dare you do this? Who do you think you are for doing that? And then God... It's like God is like, you know what? I'm going to allow them to hurt you so that you have your little proof. So that you have your little proof. And for some of you, even after you receive the proof, other people know you received the proof. And half of them already know it's true anyway, but they still come against you. And for somebody, you are avoiding what God is telling you, and you are kind of dragging your feet with it because you don't want to experience the backlash that you are going to receive for doing what you're going to do. But God sent me to tell you, whoever it is that's hurting you, whoever it is, they are not worried about any kind of backlash coming against them if they successfully destroy you. They don't care how nobody feel about it. They don't care how nobody feel about it. Nobody is making them feel bad. Ain't nobody making them feel pressed. Ain't nobody making them feel no kind of way. If it's a job, and just how some people, when you're working, it's an interesting thing that when a job wants to fire you, it's on the spot. But when you want to quit, you got to put in a 2 weeks notice. God says, like for some of you, you're enduring this. It's a situation where this person or this job or this relationship, the person you were in a relationship with or whoever it is, when they're done with you, they're done with you and that's the end of it. They don't want to hear no and, ifs, or buts about it. But they feel like you should give them the leisure of having a time so that like a breathing period. But really what they want is an opportunity to destroy you before you get away. They want the opportunity to destroy your dreams before they come into pass. They want the opportunity so that they can put their foot in front of you. They want to be able to go before you. But God says no, he is not going to allow that to happen. So yes, he has allowed some people to hurt you. He has allowed some people to break your heart. He has allowed some people to show their true colors. He has allowed some people to show how they really feel and say how they really feel. For some of y'all, they ain't even mean to come out and admit how they felt about you. They didn't even mean to fix their lips to say the awful things that they have said about you. They didn't even mean for you to hear these things. They didn't even mean for you to know these things. But God says it's meant for you to know that, because when he wants you to know who is for you and who not. And it's a definite. This is a definite. This is not, I wonder if maybe, and I don't know. God said he don't want no confusion. No confusion. No confusion. Because when there is confusion, there is a crack in the door. When there is confusion, there is an opportunity there. When there's a confusion, that means that you may allow this person to sweet talk you back into the relationship. When there's confusion, that means that you may allow somebody to cause you some kind of pain, some kind of heartache. You may allow somebody to come back in and kick you and knock you down. But God said he don't want no confusion when it comes to this. He don't want you confused. He don't want you to, he doesn't want you to feel heartache. He doesn't want you to feel pain, but he wants you to be sure in knowing who is for you and who is against you. He wants you to be sure in knowing when a job is for you and when it is not. He wants you to be sure in knowing who is meant to be around you, who is meant to go into your next chapter and who is not. And that's the message, okay? God is saying that for some of these people, they are idolizing their own wishes. They are idolizing their own thoughts. They are idolizing their own dreams. They are idolizing their own strength and themselves. And God is revealing this to you. Some people, they hate you simply because of the fact that you have the audacity to not only dream, but you make your dreams come true. And for some people, that can be very scary. That is very scary for some people, especially for people that they have had dreams and they've wanted to make their dreams become a reality. But regardless if they weren't focused on making their dreams become a reality or if they were in a position where they could not. God says for somebody, you have that. You can make this happen. Whatever your dream is, it is about to become a reality. But if you allow people that you know for a fact do not care about you, they don't love you, they don't wish you well, they are always trying to stop you and slow down your progress. They are putting forth every effort they can to pull apart every relationship you get in. They destroy every job that you have. They try to destroy your reputation. They're doing all these awful things to you. They have shown you for a fact they don't like you. Why in the world would you not cut them loose? And that's the message. God said you had to go through these things because he wants your foundation to be sturdy. And, you know, sometimes people think that a sturdy foundation is just a good upbringing. But God says for you, for whoever this is for, your sturdy foundation does not come specifically from a good upbringing where you had the perfect upbringing and everybody loved you and you always received all the happiness and all the joy and you had all the awesome birthday parties and you know you had all of this. That doesn't mean that's not what God is talking about. God is saying your sturdy foundation came from every hardship that you went through because it taught you who loved you and who didn't. Sometimes people, you know, when we have a rough childhood, we don't realize our childhood was not normal until we become adults and we think back on the things that we had to endure as a child. We think about how people may have treated us as a child, you know, and we think about how adults treated us as a child. And I just feel like for whoever this is for, God is saying he allowed you to go through that. He allows you to go through certain obstacles. He allows you to go through certain situations so that you can know for a fact who's for you and who's not. And you know, like with a job, sometimes all it takes is for you to pay attention to how your boss treats you versus how they treat the other employees. And how they give you, if they giving you more work and they trying to make you do such and such job, and then they want you to do such and such job. Every time somebody don't do their job, they calling you in the office yelling at you like that has anything to do with you, and it don't. And you know, it will also be like them asking you to do things that are absolutely ridiculous. Them asking you, you know, you a slim, small person, and they asking you to lift a box that's 200 pounds when they got somebody that's right next to you that can lift that box with no problem, but they don't ask them. They want to ask you because they want to see you hurt, or they want to see you struggle, or they want to see all these things. God says that was a light bulb for you to realize that was not the place for you. Let's say it's a situation where you in a relationship with somebody and they refuse to stop cheating. And they at first were trying to hide it, but then they get to a point to where they're trying to openly cheat in your face. They're flashy with it. They trying to brag in front of you and make you feel some kind of way. The mistress or mister is making you feel some kind of way. They allow this person to talk down and talk crazy to you. They allow this person to mistreat you. They allow this person to even be in your presence. God said he wanted that to happen so you could see it. He wanted that to happen so you could know, no, that's not for me. That's not the person for me. They don't want me and they obviously don't love me. God says sometimes he has to allow you to catch somebody in the act, because when you don't catch them in the act, that means that you end up, you're blind to what they're doing. And ain't nothing worse than a friend that is pretending to be your friend but is an enemy to you at heart. And God will prefer for all this to be out in the open. And God is saying, for whoever this is for, you are wondering, why did you have to go through this heartache? Why did you have to endure all this pain? Why did you have to deal with all this backstabbing? God said he wants you to know who for you. Just because you had a rocky foundation don't mean that your life is going to be terrible forever. But if you allow people that are specifically, they are determined to destroy you, to stay in your life and wreck your life, wreak havoc in your life, then that no, God is saying he is not going to allow, he is going to force you to let go. He will forcibly force you to let go. He is going to allow you to see them in the act of cheating on you. He is going to allow you to hear what they have to say about you. He is going to allow you to understand what they have done to you. God will reveal things to you so that you will know who for you and who not. God will reveal things to you so you know who is going in your next chapter and who not. God will allow you to see things so that you know what job is for you and what job is not. Sometimes you could be working a job and it ain't that it's a bad job. It ain't that it's a bad place. It's that you are not meant to be there. God has something else for you. And then when you get into the job that God has destined you for, you get it. It just flows. It's natural. It comes natural to you. It's not something that it's not something you got to work hard at. It's not something that you got to stretch yourself out about. It's not something I don't know how to explain this, but God is saying that it's just going to come natural. It's just going to flow. It's just going to flow. It's just going to flow. When I started recording my messages on YouTube, I was not recording for any kind of income, period. I was just doing it out of the kindness of my heart because God spoke to me and said somebody was in trouble and I needed to go ahead and release the message to help them. And I did. And it's not something that was hard for me to do. It's not something to where, like in reality, I received training when I was doing the beauty and the modeling, because I had to learn what it is like to actually talk on videos. At first, when I was doing my makeup videos, I wouldn't talk. I would not talk. I would record myself doing my makeup, and then I would do a voiceover over it. And, eventually, that was my mode of getting into the, just being comfortable with literally sitting here and recording myself. Okay. Cause at first I was so uncomfortable. And then after that, I had to get used to actually speaking while looking at myself because I felt awkward. It's like I'm literally sitting here talking to myself. It feels awkward. Honestly, when people are watching me record, they look at me like, what is going on? But in reality, it's something I had to get used to. And then after I got used to that, I had to get used to the comments because everybody ain't gonna like what you got going on. It's gonna be some people that's gonna say some mean things. I have received people threatening to harm me. I've received people talking down about what I'm doing, talking about my appearance, making fun of what I was able to build tough skin. So even though that exactly like you being a makeup artist and being a model, that wasn't the path I was meant to go down. However, while I was there, I learned what I needed to learn for what I'm actually supposed to do. So I'm hoping that this is helping somebody. I'm hoping that you're finding understanding. I hope that this gives you clarity. God says sometimes you have to go through some things that you're not meant for it, but you went through it because a rocky foundation, it makes for perfection. What was the message exactly? Perfect results. Perfect results. And I'm sitting here thinking about, I didn't even think about this. Sometimes when you throw rocks in, okay, after you build up the framing for the foundation, you put rocks in, it actually helps to save money on the actual cement. So it actually is smart to have some rocks in there for your foundation, lo and behold. But God is saying, like, yeah, that helps. It also helps for the foundation to be sturdier. It helps for the foundation, like God said everything that you've had to go through, every experience that you have experienced in your life, all of the cycles, every heartache, every time one of your friends broke your heart, every time somebody you love broke your heart, every time a family member broke your heart, every time you were working hard on a job and you were not appreciated, every time you were putting forth all your effort to do the best you could do, and somebody turned around and told you you did a very awful job, a poor job, they gave you a poor report. God said it was meant to send you straight towards where you're supposed to be. Every time somebody put up a trap for you, it was to prepare you for what God has for you. Because God says there are some things that you can't take. There are some habits that you can't hold on to. There are some relationships you're going to have to let go of. There are some friendships that just not going to work. There are some jobs that you simply can't do. And God says you have to understand this. So he allowed you to go through a testing period, and then another testing period, and then another testing period, and a moment of heartache, and another moment of heartache, and then heartache again, because God says he wants you to be able to know these things. Close the door, lock it, shut it. It's over, it's finished, it's through. So that you could go into what God has for you. God says for some of you, you are idolizing the thought of a relationship. Some of you are idolizing the thought of you having to be married in order to do this, or you have to have this degree in order to do that, or you have to be doing this in order to do that. Like the fact that it was meant for me to have a YouTube channel, but it wasn't meant for me to do what I was doing. Like that kind of thing. I just feel like it's meant for somebody. It's meant for you to be married, but it's not meant for you to be in a kind of relationship you thought about. Maybe you are somebody you always wanted to be with a rapper, or you just gotta be with a football player, and you just had to be with somebody that could sing to you all night long. You gotta have somebody that's gonna be doing all these things. God says he had to get that idolatry out the door, sweep it, close the door, lock the door, put a towel under there, keep it out. God says some of these things, they were idolatry. Some of you were thinking that you just had to be a nurse, and you just had to be a lawyer, or you just gotta be this, you gotta be that. God said he had to get that idolatry out of there. You ain't gotta do nothing. You gotta do what God wants you to do, because what you want, sometimes it is not leading you down the path that you're meant to go down. And that's the message, y'all. Baby, God got me just busting out these long videos today. Sheesh. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.